Hey everybody, I'm going to make a video that I really don't think has been made yet on YouTube. And there's a lot of videos about the things you need to look out for when buying a travel trailer or fifth wheel, or I guess any RV for that fact, in regards to your PDI or your pre-delivery inspection. And that's essentially the walkthrough that people tell you should do to inspect and make sure certain things work and aren't damaged or work properly before you take delivery or possession of your RV. So this video isn't to contradict any of that information. This is a whole different video. What I think you should take away from this video is that if you're buying your first travel trailer or fifth wheel, there are some options that you should include that are important, and they're generally options that you might exclude or not choose simply because you want to save a little bit of money. But ultimately, this is my opinion on the things you should definitely opt for if you're going to buy a travel trailer or fifth wheel. First and foremost, if you are buying a large travel trailer, and when I say large, I'd say anything over 25 feet, or fifth wheel, any fifth wheel, do not allow a salesperson to convince you that a single AC system, even if it's the upgraded 15,000 BTU unit, is enough to cool the inside of the trailer. If you plan on using your travel trailer or fifth wheel or RV in any type of hot climate where you're approaching 100 degrees during the day, a single AC system will absolutely be miserable. It will not cool the unit down. It may get the unit anywhere between 15 and 20 degrees cooler than the outside temperature if all other conditions are ideal. So for instance, if you tint the windows, if you block all your heat points, if you replace your incandescent bulbs with LED bulbs if it's not already equipped with them. The fact is that a single AC unit, even if it's ducted means it has ducting going through the entire RV, a single air conditioning unit is not enough to cool a large travel trailer or fifth wheel. Secondly, if you opt for a single 15,000 K unit, or 13.5 K unit, you are automatically or generally going to have your trailer come with a 30 amp receptacle, which means you're also going to be limited in the amount of power that you can use or access at RV parks. And what that means is if you're running your AC, you won't be able to run your microwave. Or if you're running your AC, you can't use a hair dryer or a curling iron if you have a spouse. You have to be extremely careful and monitor the power very carefully. So do not allow a salesperson to convince you that you can save a little bit of money here by getting a single AC on a larger travel trailer, and then convince you that you have thermofoil, you have all these different insulation packages, whatever. None of that's true. The reality is if you have a single AC system and you are in hot Texas, Southern California, Nevada, Arizona, Florida, Georgia, anywhere in the South, and it's hot outside, you'll be lucky to get your trailer down to 85 degrees. So if that's been an option that you're like, we'll save a couple $1,000s, generally about $2,000, and just eliminate the second AC, or we really like this trailer and the only one they have on the lot has a single AC, you should wait. Yes, there are some trailers that give you a prep option, which essentially has a sunroof or a vent in the master area in the forward part of the trailer, and you can replace that with an AC unit. But if you only have a single AC, more than likely your trailer only has 30 amp service anyways, so you'd have to actually run a separate power plug for that front AC unit. If you at all have the option to opt for 2 AC units, do so. That's automatically, in most cases, going to upgrade you to 50 amp service, which will change your life dramatically when you're at an RV park. Just the fact that you can run pretty much everything at the same time is benefit enough. Number 2 is LED light packages. If you have the option to purchase a travel trailer or fifth wheel with LED options versus a trailer that does not have LED lights do so. LED lights, yes, the story can be made that they do use less energy, which is absolutely true. But more importantly, they generate very little heat. Why that's important, especially if you're considering an RV with a single AC, is you can essentially count on each one of your incandescent lights in an RV to act as a little mini heater. It gets hot enough to the touch to where you feel like it could burn you. So if you have the ability to get an RV that has all LED lights, even if it means switching a model or switching a brand to do so, do so. Now, another case can be made that you can buy these LED lights to plug in and replace your incandescent lights off of Amazon or eBay or a number of other places. But the reality is a lot of those bulbs are Chinese manufactured bulbs that aren't produced with very high quality standards. And anybody who's installed a number of them will probably tell you that a number of them have failed, or they start to flicker, or they burn out. In some cases, they've caught fire. So if you're purchasing the RV and it actually comes equipped with those bulbs already, generally you're getting a higher quality bulb. If you go ahead and purchase an RV that has just LED lighting in general, it'll look similar to what you see here in the picture. And not only are they designed to last longer, generate less heat, but again, they do use less power. So it's less current draw from your batteries or from your generator or from whatever power source they're coming from, and it gives you the ability to potentially use other appliances more effectively as well. So number 2 is definitely opt for a trailer that has LED lights. In most cases, or many cases, trailers are making the move automatically. I know the Forest River Vibe, the 308 BHS that we had, when we purchased it in July of last year, 2015, it had incandescent bulbs all the way throughout it. But I believe the 2017 model has all LED lights, and that would have been great because we spent close to $100 in bulbs, what we consider the higher quality bulbs, and swapped most of them out, and they just don't look as good, they don't last as long, and you're always kind of concerned that if you leave them on, will one of them catch fire and burn your trailer down. So always opt for LED bulbs. Okay, so this next one is a little bit different than what most people would think, and it's undercarriage components. I say you really need to pay close attention to the various components on the undercarriage of your RV. When you walk around a travel trailer or a fifth wheel, a lot of people don't look underneath. They don't look to see if it's fully enclosed and sealed, which is important, but also they don't look at their axles, the ratings on their axles, as well as other components. And what you'll find is that this is an area a lot of RV manufacturers choose to really skimp on materials. They'll put, let's say you have an RV that's rated to weigh 6,000 pounds, and it has a combined total weight of 7,500 pounds, so 1,500 pounds worth of cargo. They'll put axles that are rated 3,000 pounds. So your axles essentially will support 6,000 pounds, and then they say, well, because the other 1,000 pounds is going to be on your on the hitch of your truck. And essentially that's underrating your axles, going with the bare minimum in an attempt to save cost. And what they're doing in turn is putting you in a situation where you could be overloading your axles. So typically the axles on a trailer will have a slight camber up in the center, a slight bend to them. And that's essentially because as you add weight, it pretty much straightens the axle out when it's under load. However, you can look under many travel trailers and you'll see that the axle's actually bending down slightly, which means that the load is higher than what the axle should have over it. So this can cause not only uneven tire wear and the higher chance of a blowout, it can cause premature wheel bearing failure. It can also put stress on other components, including the shackles, the leaf springs, and even the frame of the trailer. So it's very important that you look at the axles, crawl underneath, just kind of look from the back and see if it looks like the axles are overloaded. This is a clear example of an area where you may not investigate, but it could lead to major issues down the road. About the only thing worse than a tire blowout while driving down the road is one of your axles failing or a structural component of your trailer falling apart. And The last thing you want is to purchase a trailer because you got a really good deal on it just to find out that they've overloaded it and the manufacturer wasn't ethical in the sense of making sure that it was equipped with the right components from the start. Another thing to consider is, are you ever going to put anything on the bumper or need to carry like bicycles, I don't know, even a wheelchair or some type of an item that might be too big or bulky to fit inside your trailer, so you might opt to put it on the back. Keep in mind that the way bumpers on RVs are attached is generally with two very weak weld points, and that's basically the I-beam frame simply welds to a really cheap, thin-gauged sheet metal made bumper. It's a little 4x4 square bumper that you see here in the picture. And not only do those bumpers rust easily from the inside, but the weld joints fail, they're very lightweight, and the metal tears easily. So there are countless number of people who try to attach bike racks, or they'll attach a little bumper mount that gives you a hitch so you can carry your bike or other items on the back of this bumper. And the reality is you are taking a huge risk that you will exceed the capacity of that bumper, tear it off, bend it, break it, twist it. There's just been a number of examples where this is the case. So it's never advisable to attach anything to your back bumper, even the spare tire in this case, potentially caused the failure here. If you're going to add a bike rack to your RV, it's honestly best just to find one that has it already pre-installed from the factory. They generally use the I-beam itself as its support point, so the weight isn't placed directly on the bumper. And if you're going to add one, you want to make sure that you use the appropriate type of receiver that actually attaches to the frame of the trailer, the I-beam frame, and not the bumper itself. You can find the ones that attach to the bumper all over Amazon. They're relatively inexpensive, usually $30 or $40, and you are taking a huge risk that your bumper will fail by having that on there. Just remember, when you have a bike hanging off of a rack, it creates a leverage point and an excessive amount of leverage. So even if the manufacturer says your back or your rear bumper can support 300 or 400 pounds, it doesn't take much for a bike rack with bikes that are bouncing and putting stress on the back to cause that to fail. So again, always get a bike holder that is attached to a receiver that's directly attached to the frame of the trailer, or better yet, just opt to purchase a trailer that has a bike rack on the back already, or already has some type of an accessory rack that's mounted to the frame. And here's an example of a fifth wheel that has a rack. It's designed to hold 450 pounds. It actually attaches directly to the I-beam frame channels on the trailer itself and not on the bumper. And this is what I'm talking about. If you're going to want to support anything off of the back of your RV, you're definitely going to want to do it with the appropriate type of rack. And that actually kind of brings me to my next point. As you'll notice, the back of this Coachman has a ladder attached to it. I definitely recommend getting a travel trailer or fifth wheel that has a pre-installed ladder. Otherwise, you're going to be carrying a ladder around with you, whether it's to get on top of your trailer to clean it off, to sweep your slides off, whatever. It's just important to have one, and it's nice if it's already built onto your trailer so you don't have to go and install it yourself. It gives you a lot of flexibility, allows you to climb up on the trailer right before you leave a park, and gives you more options when it comes to just diagnosing AC problems, sealing up the roof, adding anything you want to the roof like max air vents, things like that. So if you can opt for a travel trailer or fifth wheel with a ladder pre-installed on the back, that's a good thing. When you get into your really high-end RVs, they'll have a fiberglass back cap, and in a lot of cases they won't have ladders because of that, but many of them still do. So if you can find that, or if you see a couple RVs and you're deciding between one or another and pretty much everything's identical, one has a ladder, one doesn't, get the one with the ladder. Now here's one that you can probably find a lot of information on, and that's tires. When you are purchasing a travel trailer and that travel trailer is under, or a fifth wheel, really any RV under, $60,000, probably $65,000 in that range, is pretty much going to have the cheapest possible tire that the manufacturer can put on them. In a lot of cases, it's a Constantine tire. In some cases, it's a Rainier tire. But for the most part, they're bulk purchased Chinese tires that are made very poorly. The problem is that, you know, these tires will probably give you between 5,000 and 6,000 trouble-free miles. Some people claim that the tires have blown out with them on the way home from the dealerships. Some claim that they've gotten 25,000 miles out of them. But the consensus seems to be that they're good for about 5,000 miles. Keep them properly aired up, but replace them as soon as your budget allows, because that's, you know, a huge safety aspect. A lot of the dealerships are going to try to convince you that the tires that come on them are great or they're better quality. They use steel belts, all that garbage. The reality is the tires that you're going to get on the majority of new travel trailers are junk. And again, you should be good for 5, maybe 10,000 miles out of them, as long as you keep them out of the sun, or you cover them up and you keep them properly inflated to the right cold temperature, or the right cold PSI. But just keep in mind that when your budget allows, there's a lot of really good quality tires you can replace them with, like Saloon tires, which are still a Chinese tire, but it's a commercial grade tire. You can buy them, I think, off simplytire.com. Discount Tire carries Carlisle as well as some other brands like Maxxis, which are good tires. But you know, a lot of people put light truck tires on. But again, the reality is you don't want to blow out because you have a cheap tire on there. And if you're getting to that point to where, you know, you're worried that you don't want to take a long trip because of the tire, you know, the last thing you want is to have a blowout and it cause thousands of dollars in damage to your trailer and, you know, turn a good trip into a bad trip. So that's something to think about. Sometimes when you buy the trailer new, the dealership may actually offer to upgrade your tires for a small amount to help close the deal. And that would be a definite upgrade if your budget allows for it. So, and finally, let's talk about a little bit, a few of the features that you should just expect or at least opt for. One of those is one that's kind of rare on lower priced RVs and you don't think about until you get it, and that's tinted windows. If you can opt for a travel trailer fifth wheel that has tinted windows, that's the route to go. Whether it's frameless or whether it's you know, dual pane, those are great options that you're generally going to find on your higher end units. But for the typical buyer getting into RVing, fifth wheels, travel trailers, I highly recommend you find one that has tinted windows, or you just plan in your budget to have the windows tinted with some type of a reflective UV barrier tint shortly after purchase. This is huge because your windows let in probably 50 to 60% of the heat on a sunny day. And the difference between a tinted window blocking that heat versus an untinted window is dramatic, as well as the amount of light that comes in. If you notice, virtually all of your fifth wheels and your higher end travel trailers and RVs are going to have pre-tinted windows already. So for manufacturers not to tint the windows on lower end units, it's generally because they don't think you'll, you know, really figure that out or use that as a selling feature or expect that. And if you can get those pre-tinted, I definitely recommend to do that. Also, the insulation grade. Don't let anybody convince you that Astrofoil or some of these other things are gimmicks. That Astrofoil looks like that aluminum colored bubble wrap. Any extra insulation that's put into the manufacturing of these RVs is outstanding. Anything extra they can add to help protect against hot or cold is going to help, whether it's gimmicky or not. You know, if they can put R48 insulation in the ceiling and R36 in the, you know, the basement, and R15 or 14, whatever, in the walls, just opt for the highest level of insulation that you can afford for that particular travel trailer. In some cases, they'll tell you you don't need the extra insulation because of the climate or the specific place that you live. But the reality is RVs aren't that airtight. They leak a ton of air through every hole, especially through the basement. And finding one that has a better R value rating for the walls, the roof, and the ceiling, and the floor, is extremely important. And that'll also help your air conditioners work more efficiently. So, you know, opt for the very best that you're able to afford. You know, ideally at the end of the day, when you buy a travel trailer or a new fifth wheel, or you're doing it for the first time, you want to have the very best experience possible. And really the only way to do that is to be able to enjoy it without worrying about issues or having regrets. The things that I've pointed out in this video aren't to convince you to buy one brand or another. It's just to convince you to really look around. Don't let a salesperson convince you that you don't need something or do need something, when in reality, the climate you live in, or the place that you live, or the way you plan on using your trailer would dictate the opposite of what they're saying. I really didn't point out other things according to, that you're going to need to look at, like your pre-delivery inspection stuff. What I tried to point out are just a few things that a lot of people often miss. I hope this video was informative. I hope it was helpful. If you can, please like and subscribe. Thank you.